I finished my Halloween design, you guys! Oh my gosh. Hello and welcome to Mandobug Crafts, episode 117. What's up, guys? My name's Amanda, but you may know me on the internet as Mandobug, and this is my crafty podcast where I hopefully inspire you on your making journey as I share mine. What have I been up to? It's a lot of crocheting. This entire episode is nothing but crochet and crochet design and yarn talk. So if that's what you're into, thanks for joining me. Let's talk about something I've learned. This last 2 weeks since I've recorded, I watched a very cool video, and the channel's called Summer's Tips and Stitches. So she did a video on the difference between linked double crochet and double crochet. This showed up in my recommended for you YouTube browse area, and since I had recently talked about double crochet versus linked double crochet, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, here we go. Double crochet swatch, linked double crochet swatch. The linked double crochet connects the double crochets so that you cannot see through this fabric, which is great for something like a top where you don't want to see through it. There are some major characteristics between the two. I use the same hook size. I don't remember if I use the same chains, but typically the gauge is not too far off, just a little bit tighter on the linked, and then also the density. So the linked double crochet in a same millimeter is going to be just a little bit smaller and a little bit denser. And what I really liked about Summer's video, if that's her name, I don't know, I just subscribed to her. This is the first video of hers that I watched. I'm assuming based on her name, this Summer is her name. She made the exact same pattern, all in double crochet, and then all in linked double crochet, and she shared her details of that experience. And I would never have thought to do that because of my capabilities to design patterns. I would have just designed a pattern specifically for linked double crochet, which is what I plan to do with this cotton merino yarn, this Mayflower cotton merino blend. I'm going to do a basic top-down compound raglan tee using linked double crochet. But what I never considered is that linked double crochet is not a super popular stitch, so there's not a lot of patterns that call for it specifically, so that if you wanted to use it, you would have to insert it into a pattern that already existed, and you can't just sub it. And so she goes into the details about how that worked out for her in these baby sweaters, and I really enjoyed the video. I learned a lot, and I think you will too, so that will be linked in the description box below for you to check out later. Moving on to finished objects. I finished my Halloween design, you guys! Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is how I feel about this design condensed into my view frame. I am so freaking excited about this design, and I'm super excited that I decided to make it a mystery crochet along. It's gonna be so my best way to describe this pattern is epic. This is the most epic pattern I've ever designed, in the sense that there's nothing like it. I can confidently say you will not find any other pattern that looks like this one. This one was designed completely from scratch using my knowledge that I've gained over the years on my quest to become a designer. I started designing by modifying and then learning the actual math and construction. And I don't think this is giving too much of the mystery away. The key moment for me to be able to design this pattern was when I took a how to design lace knitting shawls class. This is not a lace knit shawl. This is a crochet shawl. So this is the Lift Your Spirits Halloween Mystery Crochet Along. It's going to start on September 3rd, and it's going to be free for the duration of the crochet along while it's still a mystery. I've gone back and forth about how I'm going to host this crochet along. I am going to host it in my new Facebook group, Mandobug's Crafty Corner. It will be linked down below. Even if you're not participating in the crochet along, this is still a place to come hang out, chat, share your projects, ask questions, and just be generally chatty about yarn and crafts and our love for all things crafty. But I will also be hosting the Crochet Along specifically in that group. The pattern during the mystery portion will be sent out through my email newsletter. So you will have to be a newsletter subscriber to get the free copies. Each week there will be a clue over 6 weeks, which will end in the middle of October, so that there's still 2 weeks before Halloween, so that if you are a little behind and need a little more room to catch up and to have your shawl finished before Halloween's over, I've left that padding room. So it'll be 6 weeks long. Each week a clue will be sent from me through my email newsletter, and it will have a culmination, right? So the first week it will be clue 1, and then the second week it will be clue 1 with clue 2 added. So even if you join a little bit later into the Crochet Along, you'll still get the full pattern on week 6. But after week 6, the pattern will switch into my website's store, and it will be a $6 pattern that will be for sale. So free during the Crochet Along while it's a mystery to newsletter subscribers, posts and chats in the Facebook group, and then also for that duration I'll be going live on Saturdays at 9 a.m. to hang out and chat about the Crochet Along, any questions you may have, and just general yarn fun and chat. If you've noticed, I've been going live on Saturdays at 9 a.m. I'm currently doing Swatch Fest as I swatch through your favorite cottons, and I'll talk more about that later. I just want to make sure I hit everything about the Crochet Along because I'm super excited about it. So, I already almost forgot. I had to check my notes. The tester's call. So I finished my sample. I still need to sit down this weekend, which will have passed by the time this comes out. I need to sit down and write the pattern and create the charts. It will be written as well as charted. So that needs to happen, and it needs to be tech edited. So my call for testers will not be going out until this Friday, which is Friday, July 9th. And that will also be through my newsletter. So when you go to sign up for my newsletter, there are 2 check boxes, and you need to make sure you check one or both of them to be put onto those lists. One is for my monthly pattern releases and discounts and kind of updates. That is where you'll get the pattern when it is released in clue form. The other one is for tester calls only, and that's what you'll need to check if you're interested in being the first to be notified for any of the testing needs that I may have, including this one, which is going out on next Friday. Well, this Friday. So that's where you can sign up for that. I'm only going to use 4 testers, so it's going to be tight. The shawl there's 2 sizes, so I want 2 small testers and 2 large testers, preferably. So the spots may fill up quickly, but I'm going to do it on a first come, first serve basis. So you'll want to be looking out for that email on Friday. What does this pattern require? So for this design, I used Schmutzerella yarns. This is her Dude base in the Unicorn Blood colorway. And it is this soft tonal of like an off-white to silver would be the best way to describe it. So I used 5 hanks of this fingering weight yarn for the large size. The small size, I still have to sit down and crunch the numbers, but I believe it's 2 hanks. So that information will be in my tester call for sure when I'm ready to make that next Friday. But I want to say it's only going to be 2 hanks of yarn, maybe 3, but I think it's just 2. And then for the large size, I used 2 packs of Bead Biz size 60 seed beads, and I know it's in this not attractive plastic bag. But these are glow-in-the-dark beads. So I used 2 packs, almost like 1.5 pack, but I needed to have the 2 packs to be able to make it. So this is my leftovers. It was like 1,200 something beads, roughly 80 grams of size 6 seed beads. So that was for the large. For the small, I haven't crunched the numbers on how many beads, but I know it would only be 1 pack of the Bead Biz size beads. Although if you go with another bead option, you'll have to look at what quantity those are sold in. So that is what the requirements are. I used a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook, as well as a number 14.75 millimeter crochet hook to put the beads on. And I use this one that's an Addy, which is nice because they have it's hard to show, but they have a gold tip on here, which makes the tip durable. On weaker hooks, the tip will break off under pressure, which you don't want. Although I did notice that under pressure, this one comes out. So I need to re-glue that back inside because it did come out on me, but the tip will not break. Just metal to plastic separation, I guess. And I do love that it comes with a cap for protection. So that is what was used in my mystery crochet along shawl. It's inspired by ghosts, heavily inspired by ghosts, literally inspired by ghosts. Can I hit that home anymore? I just want to be very clear about that because I know that I've seen designers do mystery crochet alongs, or dyers find inspiration from things like Halloween, but it's not a literal take. This is a literal take. This is a literal take on ghosts and ghost inspiration. I just want to be very clear about that. If you are interested in a ghost design, this is a ghost design. Very clearly, not mistakable. Ghosts. Which is why I named it Lift Your Spirits. So that is what I want to say about the Lift Your Spirits Mystery Crochet Along starting September 3rd. I will have a full blog post written up and posted later as we get closer to the dates. And definitely if you have any questions, throw them in the comments below and I'd be happy to answer those questions or ask them in the Mandobug's Crafty Corner Facebook group as well. So yeah, I'm ready for Halloween. I mean, I'm always ready for Halloween, but I'm like especially ready now. I'm pumped. I'm super excited about this design. Yeah, it is my favorite design to date for several reasons, and I can't wait to share that with you when the pattern comes out. But like I mentioned about going live on Saturdays, I have been going live for Swatch Fest Saturdays at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and it has been a ton of fun. Thank you to everyone who has been showing up and hanging out with me. It is so much fun to interact live with you and just kind of chit chat about yarn and go on this adventure of these your favorite cottons that were recommended to me from Instagram. So you may have seen that I did an unboxing of favorite cottons, and they were all recommended cottons from you guys, and I've been swatching my way through them, so that I've kind of been counting those as foes because they're mini foes. You can go back and watch the replay of my live stream, which I know it's a hit or miss whether people like to watch replays of lives, but I try to do my best to keep the replayability there. Like, there's chats, but it's also mainly a presentation that I put together about these yarns, how they swatched, and patterns I recommend for them. So if you saw it but you haven't gotten a chance to watch it, go back and give it a try. I think you might be surprised. It's not like a super laid back, just me crocheting and being quiet and occasionally chatting. Like, this is packed full of information, like what I would consider valuable information, and I hope that you would too. So I swatched Lion Brand's 24/7 cotton, and I'm just going to run through these real quick because all the details are in my live, so I recommend going and checking that out there. I did knit and crochet swatches for that. I swatched Hobie Cotton Kings 8/8. I did a knit and crochet swatch for that as well. I swatched Sheepy's Katona knit and crochet swatches as well. And then Knit Picks Kindred, which is primarily an alpaca with a small amount of cotton in it, but it's scrumptious. I really want a sweater out of this specific colorway. I want this in crochet and or knit. It doesn't matter. It's yummy in both. I think I found one of my new favorite yarns. So those are all finished up, and I'm gearing up to swatch 4 new yarns for this Saturday. So definitely come check it out if you're interested. I would love to hang out with you and chat swatches live. moving on to works in progress. This hasn't gotten a lot of love, and I'm sad because the crochet along ended and I wanted to finish it on time, and I didn't because I needed to stick to my mystery crochet along design timeline so that I can get that pattern out on time. What I'm talking about is my Nightmare Before Christmas cardigan that is designed by Alt Knots, Kayla, and I'm not much further than I was last time you guys saw it. So if you're interested in what yarns I use, I do fully highlight that in the previous Mandobug Crafts episodes. The only addition is that, well, there's a hook shoved into it. I added some work on my sleeve. And boy, did I have trouble with this, you guys. Like, maybe it was because it was nighttime. Yesterday I spent a lot of time deep cleaning my house. And then in the evening, I just was like, ugh, let me just crochet something plain. But of course, I wanted to shape my sleeves. I don't want giant rectangles because I don't like having a lot of extra fabric down by my wrists, and vice versa. If I made it a nice circumference around my wrist, then it would be too tight in my upper arm. So I opted to modify the pattern to create tapered sleeves. But because I'm also modifying the pattern in the fact that I am working the sleeves instead of top to bottom, I'm working it left to right lengthwise. And the math threw me. Like, I did the math for if I was working it top to bottom. Then I start doing my tapered edges and I'm like, that looks funky. Oh wait, that really looks funky. And it's because I did the math for the stitches versus the rows. I needed to be using the math for the rows. It's just sometimes, like, you really have to be in a state of mind to be doing design math. Otherwise, it's going to be a bad time. So I finally did figure it out. Here's how my tapered edge looks. This is the top of, this is hard to show. This is the top of the sleeve. And this is it tapering. It's curling on the edge, which is why I'm having a hard time showing you. But generally, can you see that it tapers? So this is the wrist down here. And we've got this nice slope. There, you can kind of see it a little bit. It's kind of. So I will have the 20 inches I want at the top of the sleeve and just the 9 inches I want at the bottom. So I did it on the one side, and I have to finish tapering the other side of the sleeve. I did notice that I wanted 18 inches, and this sleeve length is only like, I want to say 16 and a half, which means I'm gonna have to do longer ribbing than I intended. But I do have a store-bought cardigan that has like this much ribbing on the sleeve by the wrist, and I like it. So it's gonna be fine. It's not what I originally planned on, but it's gonna work out. This whole thing is like scrappy thrown together, and that's part of what makes it fun. I'm not gonna add the ribbing until after I block this, because this black yarn that I'm using is one that behaves better after washing. And like, if I didn't know any better, I probably wouldn't buy this yarn. But because I know better, I love this yarn. This is Shopple Wool's Bio Merinos, and it is 90% wool, 10% linen. Let me just double check. 95% wool, 5% linen. And it is like this single. It's like a single of the two. And that's what makes it interesting. It's kind of crunchy in the ball. But once you wash it, it softens and drapes beautifully. So I don't really know what makes it so crunchy in the ball, but that is what lends to the stiffer curling fabric. My single crochet tends to curl anyways, and I'm okay with it because it typically lays flat after blocking. So it wants to curl, it's kind of stiff, but after it blocks out, it may grow a little bit, but it will definitely lay better, and I can measure it better, and then I'll decide on ribbing from there. So yeah, that is all I have to share when it comes to works in progress, because I've also got another new magazine design that I just started. And of course, that one has to stay under wraps. It'll come out next summer. So It's just me crocheting away like a little busy bee in the background and being like, I made this much progress when I really did all this stuff that you just haven't seen yet. In due time, right? Moving on to Let's Chat. Okay, I live in Washington State, and it is generally a mild summer here. And we had a crazy random heat wave that lasted just a couple days. We went from an average of like 70 degrees outside to bam, 90, 100, 110, 100, and then all of a sudden it was 70 again. It was really weird and uncomfortable, and it freaked my bees out. I don't know that I've mentioned my bees on this podcast before. So David, my partner, has been a beekeeper in the past and was ready to do it again. And so he started a hive here. And this is my first time ever having any sort of experience with it. I was reluctant at first because I thought there's going to be swarming bees in my backyard 24/7. And that's not what it's like at all. You have a hive, at some points during the day, it can be busy of like the bees going in and out, but there's not generally a lot of bees outside the hive. You just see them going in and out. There are almost none in the morning and the evenings. They're just kind of in there sleeping. Also, sleeping bees look dead because I was concerned about some dead bees and then they were gone. Sometimes they fall asleep outside the hive and they look like they're dead, but they're not. So that was new. But this 106 degree weather, well, I should back up a little bit. David inspected the hive to make sure nothing was intruding it and to make sure it was healthy and to make sure everything was growing the way that it should be and to see if he needed to add another tier, which he did. And he said, I see them breeding. We'll add another tier and see if that's going to be enough. So that is important because the day after we got up to 106 degrees Fahrenheit, we went outside and the bees were swarming. This is what I thought it was going to be like to have bees all the time, which is, like, in hindsight is so silly. But this is not normal, but this is what happened. They were swarming. There were so many bees outside the hive. There were so many bees all over the backyard in the air. And I think it was because they were too hot. There wasn't enough ventilation, and it happened so quickly. I think they panicked and thought, we need to move our home. And luckily the weather went back down very quickly, but then they changed from swarming to what's called bearding, which is what bees will do when they split or leave. So they bearded for like 2 to 3 days after the swarm, and then the beard disappeared, which David has informed me because he knows everything. I know almost nothing. Like I am relying on the information that he's given to me, and he said that beard split and left. So we still have our bees in our hive, but everybody that outgrew the hive has left. So if we wanted to keep that beard, we could have bought a second hive, but instead we let them leave, keeping just the one hive that we have. But that was like a whole experience in itself. And while I'm talking about beekeeping in general, can I just say that they're so cute. Like, once you become a beekeeper, you're like, oh, look at the cute little bees. They're so cute. I have never felt that way about bees in my life until we had a hive. And, like, I can get generally close to the hive as long as they're feeling unthreatened. And the fact that I feed them occasionally helps. I just feed them some sugar water. But, you know, it's not as threatening as I thought it would be. I've only gotten stung once, and that was because when it was really hot, we have potted plants in our garden, and they're on a base, and the base will collect water when we water the plants, and the bees, that's where they've been getting their water. And when it was really hot, they were just swarming the garden to get to that water and cool off, and I was out there picking radishes and I wore flip-flops and a bee flew under my foot in my flip-flop and I stepped on him. And so I got stung right in between my big toe and the next toe over, and it hurt. It had been a while since I was stung by a bee, but it didn't last long, and I felt bad because, like, he didn't sting me because he felt threatened. He just accidentally flew under my foot. the chances of that happening are so rare, but like I said, they were all over the garden, on the base level of the garden getting water. So it was bound to happen. I tried to stay out of the garden as much as I could after that, and when I went back in, I wore actual shoes. So yeah, that's the bees. And then other than that, I know this came out the day after the 4th of July, so I hope you guys had a happy 4th of July for those of you in the United States who are celebrating. It will be the 4th of July for me tomorrow, so I'm going to be hanging out with my family, and we got some small fireworks for the kids to light off because it is acceptable to do that here, and the weather has dropped down, so there's no burn ban or anything. Just some small, safe and sane things that the kids find exciting, like parachuters. So I'm excited to do that with them, and then barbecue and just kind of have an easy, relaxing day. So I hope that's how your 4th of July was. That's everything I have to talk about for the podcast this week. This podcast is going to become every other week thing, so I'll see you in a podcast episode 2 weeks from now. Until then, happy crafting. Bye.